There we go.
So welcome everyone again. Kathy asked me to talk about the Code of Ethics for runners, and in particular to focus a little bit on some of the things that I guess the board has become aware of from incidents that have come up over the course of this season, but also over the course of many seasons. Honestly, probably I don't know what the number one concern for race directors is, but I do hear a lot of concerns about people either abandoning the course. So those are people who jump in and run alongside of their friends and soak in the atmosphere and all of the benefits, maybe even pass by your aid stations and whatnot, but haven't paid for the race, aren't technically covered by insurance, but they sort of consume things from the races and the ambiance without paying. Obviously, that's a no. Other people like illegal bib trading, or people, like my friend can't run, so they just gave me their bib, and so I decided to run as my friend. This has been a fairly chronic problem, and we feel at the board level at least, that it's something that we needed to provide better attention to and whatnot. And so some of you may be aware of the existing campaign that we had out there called Run As Yourself. I'll make reference to it a little bit in the presentation, but what we decided at the board was that was a great approach, but that we kind of needed to step up our game a little bit and change, try and actually change the tone perhaps a little bit in as we were moving. So what we were doing essentially is coming to you with an appeal to help us kind of work together, both to track and to discipline some of the common offenders. So um, you may have seen this particular sign out. It is a new sign that we have introduced. We post this typically beside the MRA tent, or our table wherever we can. You'll see that we are starting to change our tone around some of these things, like wearing someone else's bib, and our tone is very distinctly to remind people that this is actually cheating. So running in the wrong wave is cheating. Running with someone else's bib is cheating. We've had several examples this last year of people cutting the course, saying, "Oh, I didn't know that was inappropriate, or that wasn't the correct course, and I still want to get my results." No, I'm sorry, that's cheating. Running the wrong distance, running as a bandit, and to help people understand and remind them that the bib itself is not their ticket to entry. It's the way that we use a tracking system to identify them, so that we make sure that the right results get into the hands of the right people. And also, if there's an incident on the course, that race directors have the ability to know who they're dealing with when we need to transport people to perhaps the hospital or whatnot. Kathy mentioned the incident earlier this year at the Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service. We're also made aware this year of an incident where a runner actually did need medical assistance, was provided medical assistance, and we discovered that the person that we thought we were working on was not actually the name of the person on the bib, even to the point of getting out and contacting uh, like next of kin. It wasn't a death situation, but your emergency contact. The race reached out to the emergency contact and said, we have some news for you, that so and so is being transported to the hospital. And the person at the other end of the phone said, "What do you mean? So and so is sitting right next to me here in the kitchen." So these kinds of things, we know it's wrong. It creates all kinds of problems for race directors, and we want to again work with you in order to help make the broader running community more aware of this. So um, you will see coming from MRA both the change in tone to let people know that this is not right, but also more efforts around continuing to educate our runners. And so I talked about those existing efforts. If you haven't seen mafioso type approach. A really good video that Chris Walton and Lorraine was involved in, Kathy was involved in about 4 or 5 years ago. It's a really good tongue in cheek kind of way of talking about the problems that some of the things about like illegal bib trading or having running as someone else get into. So if you haven't had a chance to see that here, it's at tinyurl.com. MRA Run as Yourself is the easiest way to find it. Or if you go on YouTube and search either Manitoba Runners Association or bib trading, it will come up. It's about a 5-minute video. It includes several of our race directors talking about why bib trading is a problem. Illegal bib trading, I guess, is a problem. The flip side to that is that there are legal and appropriate mechanisms for allowing runners to either sell their bib or to trade their bib. In particular, if you're working with Race Roster provides a fairly simple mechanism for allowing people to do exchanges and whatnot. So our goal in this is to try and help people follow the rules. Reason I bring this forth is because we invest a lot of time in it. We think it's a great marketing piece. It is a good information campaign, and we're committed to the board has tasked sort of Kathy and the rest of the MRA staff with bringing at least a twice yearly kind of a campaign forward to let people know about the perils of both a little bit illegal bib trading, banditing, and whatnot. So we will continue with this idea of trying to educate as best we can, but we will also bring the bit of a stick with the carrot. And so MRA is also working at the board level on a new disciplinary action policy. And that disciplinary action policy is based around sort of 3 principles. And it's the same 3 principles we've been following for a long time, but we wanted to make this clearer to people, and also this will also be part of our publication and our campaign. So the first is continuing with the idea that the first step in any action is to inform or educate. And so as we become aware of incidents, we will first go to the runner and to extend sort of this campaign, not only to MRA members, which is what our former disciplinary action policy was looking at, but now we're working with the auspices of Athletics Manitoba in our role as the sanctioning body for road and trail running throughout Manitoba to inform and educate all Manitoba runners about the problems that come with things like illegal bib trading. So our progressive disciplinary notice posts first inform or educate. We would typically keep this kind of on a first offense basis with between MRA and the individual runner. The next big change, though, is when we discover either a second instance or the offense itself is so egregious that we think that other people need to be informed of this. We are actually in step 2 going to sort of warn the people that are likely to be affected, and the people that are likely to be affected are the race directors. So if we notice runners that are either chronically or even just a second time banditing events and whatnot, we will inform all of the race directors of our sanctioned events about that. And we will ask you to do the same to us. If you become aware of this, we will be now, we always have been keeping a registry, but we want to let other people know now that we are keeping a registry and that we have our eyes on things. So this is the second part of that. We will include in that notifying Athletics Manitoba. And so as well, those notifications involve things like affecting national rankings and whatnot. And then our final sort of action, the third step is if the warnings and the sort of letting the running community know about these kinds of actions doesn't lead to change, or if we see a further infraction of the rules, we will inform the broader community at large. And so as we think about sanctioning, this is things like publishing on our website, making lists of bandits known in our newsletters, and things like that. at the board, we have decided that while we don't like to be pushed there, people for whom we're seeing a third offense need to be named and shamed in the community, and so that's sort of what our approach is. Um, as I said, we will need help from race directors to give this some sort of teeth. And so, one of the things that we would look to at the sanctioning level is to actually have races deny people's applications for races that they do try and enter legitimately. That we watch for these people at events and pull them off courses and things like that. So again, we will need your help with that. And before we, this I talked about this is a new disciplinary action policy. This is at the draft stage at the MRA board. So part of our work today is to try and do a little bit of sort of community questioning, and I guess I would say I'm kind of openly curious about what you think we can do from a race director's point of view, what you think MRA should be working on, and like to get your feedback and involvement in this new action as we go forward. So that's, I think, kind of the main things that we wanted to talk about. Kathy, Lorraine, Andrew, I see Jessica has joined us. Did I miss anything or have the right emphasis there? Anything that you guys want to say before we turn it open to the broader community for questions?
I guess one thing that just to sort of demonstrate what this is like, the New York City Marathon that was just held a couple weeks ago, um, they regularly pull at least 200 people off of their course that don't have bibs on, that are bandit running. They're running without being registered. And all of the big marathons in the world have this problem. But as I sort of alluded to earlier, even little events have these problems. And in order to have any effect, we need feedback from race directors, from other road runners. If you or the runners are aware of someone that has been doing this, as Derek said, our first step is to educate. So we're not going to go with, in an accusatory manner, go to these people and tell them that they're cheating and that sort of thing. What we're trying to do is, many people who do these kinds of things do not realize the impact that what they're doing has on an event, on an event's resources, that type of thing. There's been instances where events have run out of water or food at the finish line and things like that. And it was directly attributed to people that were not entered in the event using their resources. So we need your help, as Derek said.
I'd just like to make a comment too about the impact of banditing on an individual, like all individuals who are affected. For example, we know that in the running community, there's a lot of competition from ourselves just to do as good as we can and to be better each time, but also competition within the age categories. So many of us will never be first at the race, but we have an opportunity to be first in our age category. And in two separate occasions, I was the individual that was affected. In the first case, I'd like to mention, it was a fairly big race. And my friend who had been injured for quite some time, who had been walking, actually won in my age category. And when I called her to say, "Oh my goodness, so and so, you did amazing," and she said, "Oh, don't be silly. I gave my bib to my niece, who is 35 years old." So that year, I was pretty bummed out because I would have been first in my age category, but forever noted as second. So that's certainly an effect on others as well, for banning and just not doing the proper transfer.
I think Kelsey has her hand up.
Yeah, I might have a different opinion on this, but I'm caught up on the statement that Derek made about pulling people off the course because that would fall on my volunteers, and that is something as a race director I would never ask a volunteer to do is pull somebody off course, and that's something as a volunteer of many races I would never be comfortable doing. And I know that at my race there were a couple banditers. And I'm more than welcome. I'll share that information with you, Kathy. But is there MRA assistance that we could maybe get at races to help out with that? Because as a race director, I can't, I'm doing so many different things. I can't be in charge of pulling all the banditers off the course.
Yeah,
And the ones that I noticed, I didn't notice until they crossed the finish line. So like
yeah,
at that point,
I totally hear you on this. I mean, runners generally are we like to believe we're nice people anyway, and obviously we're not. Maybe not obviously, but because I should have been a little bit more careful about my language. We're clearly not trying to create a goon squad, people out there to sort of intervene and whatnot. You know, your comment about I'd be really reluctant to enforce this on volunteers, I think is the same as we would do. I'd be nervous about sort of sending a volunteer out there with the instructions, you know, hey, go in and corral anybody that you see. I would let the volunteers know, for example, though, that if you do see people that are running without bibs and you can grab their names or you know them or whatnot, then let's certainly collect that information and let's pass and carry it forward. As an MRA board member, I'm a little less worried uh, about intervening physically in something like that. But I wouldn't ask others to do that, especially if you didn't feel comfortable with it. The one thing I do say though is that if we can gather names and share names amongst ourselves, then MRA can take at least action after the fact, to the best that we can.
okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say that we had an incident late in the season this year, and we're at there. There's an MRA person at probably at least 75% of the runs out there, and it was pointed out to me at this event that a person that just came across the finish line didn't have a bib and was running as a bandit, wasn't entered. And so what I did was I pulled that person aside and explained that what they were doing was wrong and was cheating, the ramifications of it. And I looked after it myself. And if any of our MRA board members are at one of your races and you notice something like that, you can always ask one of us to have a chat with that person.
All right. Thank you.
Really good question. Thank you for that. Anything else? I see Jessica's video on social media. I don't know what that's about, but
There was a cleaner at the New York City Marathon or an attendant at a water table
Yeah.
who began pulling people off the course because they didn't have bibs because there's so many bandits at the big marathons. I do apologize for the language. And if you don't like the rap music in the video, you can turn the volume down. But it is amusing to see this person getting involved. But you know, to Kelsey's point, of course, you wouldn't necessarily ask any volunteer to do this. He took it upon himself because he wanted to. But it is, of course, a difficult scenario to walk up to someone and have to confront them. So appreciate that aspect of the conversation as well.
I think links like this, for example, are things that we can put in our toolkit. For example, as we're thinking forward and help people understand sort of the broader implications and whatnot. So good. Thank you for bringing that forward. Okay, I think that's my time. I will stop my share here and I'll turn it back to the main agenda.
Okay. And next up is a presentation about our MRA Youth Series. Sorry, Reg, if I stole a bit of your thunder, but because I did talk about it a little bit, but there is some important information that Reg has to share. He's on the MRA Race Series Committee. That's the committee that helps to identify which events should be included in the classic and youth race series. And he's very, very heavily involved with the youth series in particular. So I will stop sharing and I will turn it over to Reg Brown.
Thank you. I'll see if I can figure this out.
Reg is coming to us from Nevada.
Mm.
Everybody see my presentation? I hope.
Yeah.
There. So you see my screen? Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning, and as Kathy said, my name is Reg Brown. I'm a member of the MRA Run Series Committee, or Race Series Committee. And part of this role is to keep track of the points for both the classic and youth series races. MRA members, as you may or may not know, when they take part in one of the races that are in our series, they get awarded points, and I'm the one that gets to take care of all that. So this morning I'm going to, excuse me, talk to you about the youth series itself, like what it is and how you get your event included. Kathy has already covered that a little bit, but what are the steps if you want to become have your event in the youth series? What are the steps? And finally, what we ask from you to help us do our job at your event in the youth series. So first of all, the youth series is intended for kids 16 years and younger. This past year or past season, we had 254 youth members. And of those, the youngest was 2 years old, and there were four of them. And we had kids aged everything from 2 up to 16. And this is one of the reasons why we asked for, two distances to encompass the entire age range. Now, the purpose of the youth series is to introduce and encourage youth participation in the sport of road running. And again, just for friendship, health, fitness. Now, to try and expand the range of get out to more youth, we offer a special membership for school run clubs or for schools that are wanting to start a run club. Well, how this works is the school will take out an MRA membership. And I believe this past year, the cost was $50. And once they have their membership, any student at their school, 16 years or younger, can join the MRA by having a parent fill out the MRA application and submit it to Kathy. And in that application, they reference the school membership. This way, there's no cost to the student. The school membership has covered the cost of their membership, they're joining. So there's no cost to the student, and they get the full benefits of the MRA Youth Series, participation, in the points, the awards dinner at the end of the year. And this is a relatively new membership or new concept, but interest is really growing in it. And we saw a lot of growth in the volume of youth taking part this year, and a lot of them were through some of these school memberships. So if you want to have your event included, what are the steps? And again, these are covered in the sanctioning agreement. The first is the event must be sanctioned by the MRA. Next, we need to have two distances, 5 kilometers or less. And as I said, this is just to allow opportunity for kids all ages to participate. Usually the younger ones will try shorter distances, older kids will try the longer. Although some of these kids can be quite competitive. I've seen some that I think should be running the longer distances, but they're running the shorter ones because they know they can win it and get more points. So it makes it a little interesting. And the other thing is the race series committee meets in early January to put together the list of races in each of our series, the classic, youth, indigenous, all these races. And then that is presented to the board at the January board meeting for approval so that we can get our calendars together and out. As Kathy said, people start planning their race events early on. I'm one of them. I've already registered for 3 races for next year as soon as the registration opens. So we want to get this out quick. So to help us with that, we ask that your sanctioning paperwork and a request to be part of the youth series or the classic series be received by December 31st, 2024. Just increases the chance of inclusion and lets us get things out good and early in the season for everybody. Now, one way that the youth series differs from all the other series is that we have a check-in. We strongly encourage members taking part in a race to check in with the MRA prior to the start of the race. So this is one of the things we ask for is some place to set up a table, either close to the starting line, because some of these kids show up 5 minutes before the start of the race. So the closer we are, the easier it is for them to check in. Or close to where, if you have race day kit pickup or still race day registration, close to your table there. Two of the ideal locations for us. What this check-in list does is it lets us verify who's there, who to watch for in results, and what distance they're doing. Now, in order to prepare this checklist, I prepare it the night before, and it's based on our youth series membership list and your race participant list. So because of this, typically about 3 to 4 weeks before the event, I will be contacting you either by email, but I'll be asking you to send me a copy of your participant list the night before the race. This works well. Any race day registrations, again, it minimizes the last minute changes. I can have everything prepared the morning of the race. Earlier this year, late May, early June, I discovered that if you're using Race Roster for registration, they have something called Timers Access. And if you're willing to grant me Timers Access, then nobody has to bother with trying to send me the participant list the night before the race. I can log into your website, your Race Roster site, and download participant list myself. And for me, the big advantage to that is, well, I get to do it at my convenience, but also I can't screw anything up on your Race Roster site. Can't accidentally screw anything up. So it's whatever's more convenient to you, either emailing me the list the night before or granting the Timers Access. So that's what's required. Copy of the participant list and a place to do our check-in. To set up a table, or if it's outdoors, the little tent to do our check-in for the youth series. And this check-in offers a huge advantage in events that are not timed. Timing is not cheap, so usually we see shorter distances aren't necessarily timed. Our ice cream run, for instance, we had 6 of them this year, 2 events at each one. None of those were timed. But we still give out points. They're part of the race youth series. We still give out points. And the way we do that is at check-in, each of the kids gets an MRA youth series bib. And on the bottom, there's a tear off. We put their name on there, the distance they're doing. And then at the finish line, we collect those bibs or those tear offs. Like this bib is worn in addition to the race bib that you provide that comes in their kit pickup. We pull off these tear offs, and because the distance the kid is running we just collect them in order. And then after the event is over, I can sort them out according to distance and assign the necessary points. To assist with collecting of these bibs, what we try to do is have somebody ahead of the finish line directing the MRA kids to one side where one of us will be there to collect the tear-offs. And again, just to minimize any crowding or disruptions at the finish line. Ideally, we like to be ahead of where medals are handed out, because usually what we found is if we're behind the medals, the kids get their medal and then they're gone. And sometimes, we can miss the bibs. So it just helps us if we, just can be off to one side of the finish line and collect our tear-offs at that point. So just summary, the MRA Youth Series is there to encourage and promote participation in road running for kids 16 years and under. To be considered as part of the youth series, we ask that your request to be included in the series and your sanctioning paperwork be received by December 31st, 2024. And I will be asking for a copy of your participant list, whether it be emailed to me or I have time, you give me timer access and I can download it myself. And lastly, we're there to help. I believe Kathy and Derek have already talked about this. We're there to help with anything. We've helped with course setup at times, and as Kathy mentioned, talking to people we know are banditing. And that is the end of my presentation. Do you have any questions or how do I get out of this? There. I'll turn it back to Kathy.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Reg. Excellent job. The last thing that we're going to talk about today is the resources that the MRA can provide to race directors, their organizing committees. Now on this slide, there are two links that I've highlighted here. One is on our own website, and the other one is a website called Race Directors HQ, which is an extremely valuable resource for anything to do with putting on a road running event. There's a lot of information. It is from the States, but it's all very applicable to what we're doing here. So I would highly recommend that you go to one of these two places or both places to get information, because I get asked a lot of questions. I have race directors contacting me and saying, can you give me some advice on where I can find bibs? Where can I source medals? Who's available for medical? That sort of thing. And what I've been doing over the years is putting together a list as best as I can on our website that you can easily access that has a lot of this information. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop share this. And I'm going to switch over to the website, because what I have found is that a lot of, hang on a second here. Okay, that's not what I wanted. I had the website open here, so I should have it. And it's, oh, there it is. Okay. Sorry, just had to, I have got so many documents up on my screens. Okay. Attendee, that should be there. And there. Okay. Can everybody see the website that I've got up on the screen here? just going to, yeah, okay, there we go. Okay, so this is the Manitoba Runners Association website. This is the home page where we have different information available, our land acknowledgement. If you are looking for anything to do with race directors, go to MRA resources, and at the very top of the drop-down is a tab race directors. And just tell me if anything's not showing up. So as you can see, this is the race directors page. So at the very top, it's got the announcement about the race directors meeting, the link to the meeting. And this is where a recording of the meeting will be available once I get it transferred over after this meeting. It explains sanctioning and the benefits of sanctioning your event with the MRA. And then there is a list of forms and information. And I try to keep this updated as much, as well as possible. But the very first thing on this list is the resources for race directors. So I'm going to open that up. And let's see if we can increase the size of it because it's very small. How's that? Is that people can see that? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. So the very first thing is the information for the MRA office, and I'm the person that you'll talk to here at the MRA office. If you're dealing with the city of Winnipeg and you're planning your event, there are all kinds of contacts here, depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking for permits, that type of thing, traffic control, there's all kinds of information here. One thing I will point out, Scott Stewart is currently on leave. So I think he is the special events liaison for the city of Winnipeg. I think this job is a very tough one because in the time that I've been with the MRA, which is well over a decade, there have been 2 people in this job, and both of them have left on stress leave now. So it's a tough job because it's one person in charge of the whole department, and he looks after everything to do with special events in Winnipeg. So be patient with this office because they are highly overworked. But I did find out actually just yesterday that Mike Black has taken over. He was already with the special events department. He looks after inquiries and permits, so he is the person to talk to right now, and his email's there. The office phone and his cell phone are all there. It's all on their website, but this is an easier place to go to get the information that you need. So anything to do with planning an outdoor event, road construction, lane closures, because sometimes you plan an event and lo and behold, the city is tearing up your road. So, and it's happened more than once. It's happened to us. So you can go on and find out what the planning is without even having to talk to anyone. So that all the information here is to do with the city of Winnipeg and contact people or website links where you can get information. If you need food service information or permits, maps of community centers. So everything's there. The next thing is City of Winnipeg parks. If you're holding your event in a park in the city, other than Assiniboine Park, you will need to contact the City of Winnipeg to get a park permit. They're not expensive, but you should have a permit in order to hold your event in a City of Winnipeg park. So the links are there, the phone numbers to do that. Now, Assiniboine Park is not owned and operated by the City of Winnipeg. It is owned and operated by Assiniboine Park Conservancy. So there are a whole set of different people that you have to talk to at Assiniboine Park if you want to hold your event there. And Joy Balmana is in charge of their department, and that's her contact information. So you can get information from Assiniboine Park by contacting her. Same with the Forks. And if you have an event at the Forks, there's actually two organizations, depending on where in the Forks area you're holding your event. You may have to have put in a request with the Forks itself, and or the Forks National Historic Site, which is Parks Canada. So there's the contact information there. And there's also the Forks North Portage Partnership Renewal Corp, and they may be involved. So if you need to book something with the parks, there are different people you can get a hold of there. Birds Hill Provincial Park also has its own application forms. So and if you're holding your event in a community in Manitoba, you need to contact the local community office, whether it's the town council or whatever. But you should have permission from the community that you're holding your event in. You need to contact them in order to let them know what you're planning and to find out if you need any special permits from them. Traffic services. This is if you need things beyond what we can provide in the way of, for example, if you're planning a lane closure, closing one lane of traffic for your event, you'll need a special permit, plus you'll need their street services, or you don't have to go with City of Winnipeg street services. You can go to other traffic services that are available. Medical services. I've got a number of different people that you can contact for medical services. The MRA uses Jerry and Andrea for their medical. They are very good and they are not very expensive, but there are others available. So those are all listed there. You can find your own medical. For example, if you know somebody who is a paramedic and has the required certifications, then you can use that person. And sometimes it's a person associated with the event, and then you don't have any cost with your medical, but you just have to ensure that they're properly certified. Results and timing services. Race Results has been around forever. That's Steve Gajerski. He can do manual and chip timing. That's his contact information there. And then, of course, MRA has its own timing service as well. The Zone 4 timing system, that one is a rental, and they will train you online, but you need to have somebody dedicated to learning how to use it. So that system we're not as comfortable with if you're in the Classic Race Series. Registration, just to let you know if you didn't already, that Running Room is no longer offering their own registration service. They are partnering with Race Roster. So if you go to Running Room for a sponsorship or to register your event with them, for registration, they are going to send you to Race Roster. I believe 99.9% of our events this year used Race Roster for the registration. They are extremely good. They are constantly coming up with new features as far as how they can help you. They can look after your donations, and they are available pretty well 24/7 with support. So keep that in mind. Jessica, did you have a quick question?
Yeah, just a comment about race roster support. I had to call them after my race because for some reason certificates weren't downloading for finishers for a certain distance, and they fixed it right. Like they were so responsive. I was really impressed. I got 4 or 5 follow-up emails and everything was resolved pretty quickly.
Thank you for mentioning that, because that is the biggest thing about Race Roster is they are available. You can contact them by email and they get back to you within about well, sometimes within a couple hours. You don't have to wait. And the nice thing too about Race Roster is that, once you become a little more familiar with the back end of your registration, you can make all the changes. You can do everything yourself. You don't have to wait for somebody else to be doing it for you. Master of Ceremonies, if you need an announcer. Some of these people charge, some of them do not. For example, Chrissy Troy and Mandy Shu, they're both involved with the radio. They don't charge for their services, but because of that, you can imagine that they're pretty busy. So if you're going to try and get them for your event, you need to book very early. Steve Scholes is excellent. I believe he does charge for his services, but he's a lot of fun. Christopher Dunn, I've only met him once, but he was involved with the Paul Warenko, or Warrico, sorry, memorial run, and I've listened to him at the event and he was great. He was really good. So I asked him if I could put his contact information up and he said yes. So I'm always trying to add to these lists. So if you know somebody really good for announcing, or if there's somebody that can provide medical that's really good, then let me know and I'll put their information up on this list. Water, people get their water in different places. World of Water is one of our discount sponsors. They don't provide water itself at a discount, unfortunately, but they are very good. So there's different places you can go to get water. Bibs, I'm always getting asked about bibs. We can provide generic bibs, not custom bibs. So they won't have your name on them. They're just a black and white bib with a number, and they can be used. And we provide those at a cost because we have to buy them and then we sell them to you. So we can do that. Or if you want a custom-made bib, there's different places that you can go. Now, one of the ones that I do recommend is Intrepid Design. That's Devin Soroka. He works for Oasis Originals. He's local. And it's always nice working with somebody local. First of all, you're supporting local. And second of all, it's a lot easier if you need information, if you need changes, whatever you need, he's there and he's very, very good. He's a designer, so he can help you with the design of your bibs. He also does medals, and he does beautiful medals. And then he has a place that he gets the bibs made for you. So if you're just interested in getting a quote, you can do that through him. Highly recommend just contacting him at Devon at Oasis Originals. These others are not local, but they are available. Boulder Bibs used to be Road ID, which is you used to see those bibs everywhere, but their Road ID is no longer in the business of providing bibs, so they've handed their bib service over to Boulder Bibs. Jessica, you had a comment?
Yeah, just quickly, I had bibs designed separately myself last year, and I loved my bibs. But then when I worked with one of the running stores, I won't say which one, that to be the presenting sponsor, they indicated to me that the running store sometimes will provide the bibs as well. So I could have combined that option. I didn't realize, I thought I had to go out and make my own bibs, and they're quite expensive, if beautiful. But sometimes your presenting sponsor will have access to bib creation. So it's just something good to ask at the outset before you spend money on bibs.
Thank you. That's a very good point. Yeah. So that's bibs. If you need massage therapy services at your event, most events don't offer this, but you can. Massage Athletica, Mike Booth is one of our discount sponsors, plus he's the sponsor of the presenting sponsor of our youth series. And if he has people available, he can send some people to your event so that you can offer massage therapy services at your event. Music services, SFG Music Service, that's Steve Gajerski. He also has the timing service. He can't do both at your event. I've asked him about that. If you have him timing, he can't do the music and entertainment. If he's doing the music, he can't do timing. He has one or the other. And then another one that was pointed out to me is Amazing Entertainment here in Manitoba. And he's someone else that you can contact if you're interested in providing some kind of music or entertainment at your event. You can always use a phone with a music playlist and hook it up to our PA system as well. So it's not something that you have to have or pay for. Photography services, I've got a number of people there now. I believe there's one other person that's relatively new on the scene. I know he was taking pictures at the Winnipeg Fire Paramedic race, and people are saying that he provides really good service. So I'm going to be looking into adding him to this list as well. If you want a bike valet, there's Bicycle Valet Winnipeg that you can contact and they'll provide valet services. Portable toilets. If you need portable toilets, there's a number of different places you can go. These are just 3 of them that I've dealt with, but there are others online, but these have specific contact information. Now, a big one. I get asked this a lot about medals because a lot of events now are offering finisher medals because it seems to be what helps in attracting participants to your event, but it is an expense. You can get, you can go to like CM Engrave, which is local, or Awards Canada, which is also local, and get what I would call a sort of a generic medal. Intrepid Design, that's Devin Soroka again. He's local, but he can source medals. He can do the design, and he sources his medals if they're the filled ones, the really colorful type of medals in different sizes. Most of those, in order to afford them, events have to go to China for those, and Devin can do that for you. So if you're looking at a higher quality medal that you want to give out, I would highly recommend him for the design and the and getting it made. If you've got somebody that can design the stuff for you, he will take that and get them made for you. You don't have to design with him. And then these last 2 are both in the US. They both source their metals out of China. They're very similarly priced to Devin at Intrepid Design. So that's the metals. So that's this document. And I really, really hope that more race directors will start going to this document so that it takes a little bit of the phone call weight off of the MRA office, since it's just me. But have a look here first. If you have questions, then contact me, and I'm fine with you contacting me. Now back to the page, the race director page on our website. Another thing, like the sanctioning agreement with all the appendices is up on this site. So if you misplace the link that I send or the document that I send, you can find that here. Same with the timing services contract, the equipment request form, the equipment management document. These are all, parts of the sanctioning agreement. You can come here to get those documents. One that is brand new that I've just added is the Athletics Canada Extreme Weather Guidelines, because it came up a couple times this summer, as Jessica at Run Sage Creek can attest to. There was some real concern about whether or not the event would have to be either suspended or canceled because there was a lot of lightning and rain and high winds in the forecast. Fortunately, it all bypassed her run and they were able to go. But this would be worth reading through. We've never had anything regarding extreme weather on our website before, but it goes into everything. Air quality. There's a whole section on that. Inclement weather, so thunder and lightning, high winds, black ice, which is something that, we do have here in April, and extreme cold or extreme heat considerations. So these guidelines come directly from Athletics Canada. They will help you in making decisions regarding extreme weather. And then finally, here is the Assiniboine Park. This is the new 5K loop that we're going to start using in 2025. And it has the course marshal placement on it. I'll just open it for you to show it to you. We'll have to make it a bit smaller. There we go. So it shows the course, the direction the course is run, and then the yellow dots are the recommended spots for course marshals, because they're usually, you put a course marshal wherever there might be traffic coming in, crossing your course, or where you have a situation where a runner could go in two different directions. And you can put signage up, but it's good to have a course marshal as well. I can tell you from my own experience, I was running the Regina Marathon many years ago, and even though there was a sign right in front of me telling me to turn left, I knew that the finish line was to the right, and I was pretty well brain dead by then, so I was absolutely determined to go right. And fortunately, they had a course marshal there, and he jumped right in front of me, looked me in the eye, and pointed to the left. And otherwise, I would have gone off course, even though there was perfectly good signage there. So you don't see that as much in 5K, 10Ks, although because your runners are moving faster, they may not see the signage as quickly as you think they will. Regarding courses and signage, one thing I would like to mention is that somebody from your organizing committee on race morning should always drive your route right prior to your event starting. Reason for this is you want to make sure that your course marshals are in the correct place, all your signage is still there and pointing in the right direction, because there are people out there that think it's really funny if you set up your course and then they go out and then they change your signs to point in the opposite directions. So it's really important to check your course prior to start time. And if you're using our equipment, we highly recommend you do not set up the night before, because that's when people like to come in overnight and steal the signs or turn them around. So it's best to do your course setup early in the morning. I think that's about it. If you go down near the bottom here, there's a race director guide, that race director's headquarters, HQ, that I mentioned at the beginning. The link to that is right here. Guides for planning medium to large events, safety guidelines, and anything to do with sanctioning and road running on the Athletics Canada site is also here. So there's a lot of really good information here. Did anyone have any questions? No. One thing that I realized that I hadn't mentioned that I really did want to mention is the whole situation of sex versus gender in registration. Athletics Canada looks at road running as being a recreational sport, and therefore the guidelines that are set down by Athletics Canada are enforced by the Manitoba Runners Association. We do require that you use gender not sex. So sex would be male, female. Gender is man, woman, non-binary. And there is also a prefer not to disclose if people just don't want to say. And the non-binary category does cover a lot of ground. Race roster is very well set up for gender options. It now defaults to gender options, but it points it out to you when you're creating your registration page so that you know. And just recently, they have given you the option to have further explanations of the different gender options if you wish. So like, for example, one of the examples that they use is instead of just having man, then under that it could say men or man or man identifying. You don't have to use that. That's just something you could add if you wanted to. And we don't require that you have to do that. But the non-binary category is becoming a competitive category right across the world, but especially in North America. All the large marathons now have a non-binary category and give out awards to the non-binary runners in age groups, but that's because they're very large. You won't see a lot of people that sign up in the non-binary or prefer not to disclose category, but you will probably see one or two. So what we suggest is that you have for awards, that you have awards for the men, awards for the women, and those can be, we recommend age group awards, which you'll see in the race standards. But for the non-binary, if you only have one, two, or three people, just do overall awards in the non-binary category. And awards can be, when I say awards, it doesn't have to be something that you go out and spend money on. Runners love recognition. And as long as you recognize them somehow, like by just announcing names, bringing them up to the front when you're doing your results, and they get to stand there and, you know, I was first in my age group, second in my age group. Runners love that. You don't have to be giving them prizes or medals for winning. I mean, it's nice if you can do it, but just remember that when we talk about recognition, it can be recognition in many different forms. And so this is how you can accommodate also the non-binary category. We're not trying to place a further financial burden on your organizing committee by saying you should be giving out non-binary awards. It can be just a recognition, an announcement. But the thing to remember is that everything should be equitable. So whatever you're doing for the men, you should also be doing for the women and for the non-binary. So it shouldn't be that you only give, I've seen this, races that give out awards to the top three, period. And well, they're going to be all men. No, you can't do that in an MRA sanctioned event. Everything has to be equitable. You have to have your top three men, top three women, or top man, top woman, top non-binary. But race roster does make it very easy to accommodate these gender options. And the timers also can separate out your results. So it's not something that you have to spend a lot of time over. It's just making the decisions when you set up your registration. And our classic race series now does have a non-binary category where we give out, we've had it for 2 years now, where we give out awards for men, women, and non-binary. So we appreciate you having a non-binary category so that it's easier for us to separate out results. Does anyone have questions about that?
No, I appreciate that information, Kathy. Um, I'm just going to share a little bit. Our race in southern Manitoba, we had a non-binary option for entries, and it was quite involved and detailed, and that actually turned off a few entrants. We lost a few people because of that. So I'm just pointing that out to other race directors that maybe a one-liner for non-binary might be. I think that's what we're going to do next year, just so that I guess accommodate as many people as you can. That's
Exactly.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right, Dwight. Um, yeah, the 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 explanation of the gender category non-binary on race roster is more than fully descriptive. And there doesn't really have to be anything else that is added to it unless you want to. But that's a very good point. Thanks for bringing that up. Anything else? Okay, well, we've done very well on time. Um, if oh, Juanha?
Yes, hi. It's my first year doing being race director for the Go for the Burn Fund,
Mm.
and we wanted to do a virtual component of the run this year. And I just kind of wanted to get a feel and ask people who have done the virtual component or are thinking about it this year if they've charged the registrants a little bit differently, and whether they've sent out like t-shirts and bibs and things like that. And just what your thoughts are.
Well, I can answer some of that. Virtual has decreased in popularity over the last 2 years simply because we've moved out of the COVID phase and more people want to run in person. But it can be a very good way of accommodating people who either can't make it to your run on that day or live in other parts of the country that want to support your event. Um, Usually the virtual component is less expensive for the participant to enter than the in-person because they are not having to use up resources that you are supplying, like whatever food that you offer at the end of the run, like the water on the course, that sort of thing. They're not using those resources. You don't have to provide them. So you should be charging less for the virtual component. What else did you say? I'm just trying to think.
Like, are you sending out t-shirts and bibs, like other merchandise
Some
that other people?
events do, some
Yes.
events don't. Um, if you look at it as giving people an opportunity to support your event when they can't be at your event, then support, that's their main consideration. So do they need medals, t-shirts, swag, whatever it is that you're giving out? The other part of that is then you've got to pay for postage. You're increasing your costs then. So if you want to give out medals to virtual participants, then you have to factor that into what you charge for the event. Because I mean, the main thing here is road runs are all raising money for some type of a cause or charity, which is one of the wonderful things about road running is that part of it. And runners will come out to support their causes. They'll come out to help you. So you can't lose money. Let's put it that way. You want to be charging enough for your event that your costs are covered and that you can raise money for the cause that you're holding your event for. So be very careful with setting your pricing. Look around at what other events are charging for their races. Take into consideration like a 5K is a little bit easier to put on than a full marathon. So the resource, you don't have to have as many resources available. So you're not going to charge as much for a 5K as you would for a full marathon. And if you need any advice or help, you can always call our office. Does that answer your questions? Does anyone have any other comments about virtual?
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
Not about virtual.
Oh, you had a question. Okay, well, that's just, does anyone have any comments about virtual? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, it's a comment versus a question. Can you hear me okay? I have no idea. I never do virtual things, so I
Yeah.
guess this
We can hear you just fine. Yes.
okay. Directed at Derek and your team, I guess. It was just a thought, and you probably already thought of this in regards to educating individuals for running as yourself, and with the conflict of volunteers and approaching someone and maybe being a bit nervous about conflict. I wonder if maybe the MRA could design maybe a little like almost like a business card that volunteers could have, that they could just maybe give to an individual that they see that is, not running as themselves or being an offender in, any of those categories. It just as a source of the primary education. And also maybe supplying posters or something for the races that we can slap up on the tables or like wherever, right? Like where our food is, where, you know what I mean? Like, and maybe even providing that in the equipment order form. So we could say, okay, we want 20 of these little business cards for our volunteers to be able to, for the brave ones that would want to hand them out. It's just a thought. I'm sure you've thought of this already, but
No, it's a good idea for sure. We
Yeah.
have talked about the that set of activities that this is cheating. That's a poster that we created. A sign actually fits in one of our A-frames and whatnot. We created one of them this year because we weren't sure really how it was gonna go over,
that
and
poster.
where I for me anyway, the thing that really resonated for me was like we're on to something here, and this is sort of a wider spread feeling, was when we set that up actually at the Manitoba Marathon Expo, and the number of people who walked by the expo and said, "Wow, I didn't know that," or
I,
a
I, I'll be honest. A couple of years ago, I did run for a friend. I thought it was just an innocent.
Yeah.
She had the slot. She couldn't run. I said, "Sure, I'll run for you."
Yeah.
So I think the awareness is huge.
Yeah. So, yeah. So we have one copy of that sign right now because we didn't know if that was going to be a one and done, but it's something certainly Kathy and I can talk about.
Yeah, I do like your idea very much. Because one of the problems is you don't always know who the person is that is the offender. And so how do you report it if you don't know who that person is? And like I know a race committee could always look up the bib number, but what if they're not wearing a bib, right? Or they're hiding it, or there's a few things that go on. But giving out a card as part of the educational piece, like, hey, we noticed, and what you're doing isn't right, and maybe think twice next time, kind of thing.
Silent embarrassment, and be easier on the volunteers' side to maybe just hand a card than confront, right? Because
Yep.
I wouldn't be brave enough to talk to someone, but I could easily be like, "Hey, here, can you read this?"
Yeah. No, I like the idea very much. Thank you. Jessica.
I really like that idea too. And I just wanted to share a quick story from Run Sage Creek. So when the results came out, I got an email from a dad who said, I was hoping you could check the times on the 10K because I think my daughter should have won, but it says another girl won. And this young girl had run a 10K in 38 minutes or something really fast. And then I got another email shortly thereafter from a dad confessing he had used his daughter's bib because she was in a motorized wheelchair and couldn't run that day because it was raining. So I guess he just either had her bib already on his person or he slapped it on himself and ran. And he beat this other girl in that age category. And the dad of the other girl looked at it and thought, "Oh, there's no way someone ran that much faster than my girl." And he was right. So just I think a lot of times it is innocent. It's just that awareness, and I like the idea of something like that card, letting people know that they've even inadvertently broken the rules.
Mhm.
It's also something, for example, that we might like a business card size thing is quite easy to produce, and reasonably affordable. So something that we might be able to produce sort of en masse for adding into swag bags and things like that as well.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for the suggestions because, yeah, it can really help us with how we want to move forward with the whole run as yourself and that.
Yeah.
Vern?
Kathy, hi. On another topic, can I switch? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Just going back to the gender piece. Do you have an MRA stance or recommendation that's in print that we could refer to if we're asked about this?
Uh, I could put something up on the race director's page, but it would probably be something directly from Athletics Canada. But, we could make it our own because those are the rules we have to follow. So yeah, I could put that up on the race director's page and it'd be maybe something that you could print off or refer to if you had any questions. Would that work?
Works for me. I mean, it's a new area, and I don't want to offend anybody.
No.
And I also want to have an answer for someone if I'm challenged or asked about this. I mean, the organization we belong to, this is the recommendations and this is what we're following.
Yep. Okay, I will work on that, Vern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions, comments, concerns? You can always reach out to me after the meeting or as things come up. That's what I'm here for. Okay. Well, Jillian.
Hi, I wasn't sure if this was kind of the open floor piece. I had kind of like a general question for the group. So my name is Jillian Crawford. I am attending this meeting for the first time. I have never organized a run before. Just to give you a brief background, I lost my dad in September of this year after a very long battle with metastatic prostate cancer, and he was an avid runner. It's always been kind of in the back of my mind that I wanted to honor him in this way by hosting a run and raising money for prostate cancer research, as well as supporting some scholarships in the community that kind of reflect his values. And I spoke with a race director from I'm going to mispronounce his name. It was Paul's Run, the young doctor that passed in the spring, and the feeling that I got from him was that this, and also from just reviewing online and talking to Kathy, organizing a run is quite a huge undertaking. I acknowledge that. So it's a little bit daunting for someone just starting out who's also a working parent. So I just wanted to kind of put it out there. If anyone could briefly share their experience starting out and maybe, let me know if this is possible. Kathy, thank you for sharing those resources on the website there because they look extremely helpful and I have a little bit more hope for myself after this meeting. But it's also, yeah, I'm just wondering if anyone could share their experience and let me know that it's doable. And I'm just one person right now. It looks to me at this point that I need to start a little committee, but please share your experience. That would be great.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jillian, about the committee. Too many people think that being a race director means that you're running the whole show. You oversee, but you need to have good people in key positions, so that on race day, a race director should not have a specific job, because you will be pulled in enough directions, putting out fires, answering questions, helping people find what they need. If you have a job, like, for example, looking after volunteers or something like that, you won't be able to do your job properly, because you're just going to get pulled in too many directions. So yeah, what you said there about having an organizing committee is so very, very important. The other thing is, we've been talking to Jillian, we being Krista and I, a little bit, regarding our own event, Run for Your Cause. What that event is, it's kind of like an introduction to race directing. If you've never done it before and you want to learn how to do it in a virtually no risk situation to yourself, Run for Your Cause is the thing for you. This year it's going to be, or 2025 will be held Sunday, June 1st, at CMU on Shaftesbury. It's a long-standing event. It's a fun event. It's called the Awesome Twosome, where it's a 5K race where you're in teams of 2 and you run in the course in opposite directions. And who wins is the team that has the fastest time. So we combine the times together, and we also combine your ages together to determine your age category. So it's a lot of fun, but it is a certified course, and timed, and so everybody gets official results. It's part of our classic race series and our youth race series. We have 2 distances, actually, 3.3 and 5, but the real draw is the 5K. And what we do is we've attracted a number of causes. They don't have to be charitable organizations. They don't have to have charitable status. And schools can be those causes too. And the main job of the cause that's coming on board with this event is to market it to their own community, whatever kind of list. Like, we had an animal rescue last year that did really well, because the amount that you can make from that event is determined by the number of people that you attract to the event that name you as the cause that they want to support. Because you get, from each registration, you get $25 for your cause. So if you bring out, 50 people, then you're going to make a lot of money. Plus, we have donation pages and fundraising pages and all that kind of stuff associated with the event, so that people can also just be involved as a fundraiser or make a donation separate from just the $25 of their entry fee that's going towards your cause. And you aren't responsible for any part of organizing the event. We book and pay for the venue. We book and pay for the timer. We look after setting up the course. We look after the food, the water. All we require from you is a few volunteers and that you bring people in. And it's a win-win. Krista.
Yeah, Jillian and I have talked through this on the phone. I think the other thing, just to talk about your group of people, it would also be a good way to start getting your group of people together this year. And then if you decide to host your own race, at least you've got that core group that have come out to that cause. They've seen how it works. You see how it works. And hopefully you can carry those people on if you decide to go, to a separate event for yourself. Yeah.
Yep, that's a good point. Yes, Jillian.
Sorry, trying to unmute myself. Yeah, I think that's also a great option, because I thought, looking at time frame as well, if I can't gather enough support, maybe going with the Run for Your Cause would be the best for this year, and we can always expand. My question was, because I'm not a registered charity or a nonprofit or whatnot, and I know folks come on board to raise money for that, how do the fund distributions work? Like through the what's it called?
Race
The
roster?
online portal. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
how
Race
so
roster.
25 goes to the event, and then $25 comes to the charity. Are they cutting, like how do I receive money to give to our charity through that?
You receive it directly from Race Roster. You set up a
Okay.
payment profile with Race Roster. It's all on the site, and it automatically, the way that we set up the registration, it automatically will direct that $25 from each participant to you. And you will get I believe it's a weekly report on what is being deposited into your account. So it's all done automatically. Same thing with donations. If people make separate donations, it can all go straight through your payment profile directly to you. So it's a lot easier to set up. And you don't have to, there's no work involved for you in collecting all of that money, and it'll all be documented. Race Roster is very good with their reports, so it's all documented as it goes to you. So you know where it's coming from, exactly what you're getting, that sort of
And
thing.
my understanding is that we set that up for you on Race Roster.
The payment profile they have to set up themselves, I believe.
Okay, but we assist the
yeah.
And I would be responsible, for example, to set up the cause, to set up the logistics
on the system. Yes.
On the system. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't learn that is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I guess folks would typically open like a new account or something, so it's not like going into like a direct
personal account. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Usually you would have an account that's dedicated to your cause to show that any monies that are coming in that are for the cause are going to the cause.
Okay, so let's say if I had an endowment fund with like the Winnipeg Foundation, I could set up Race Roster to go directly into that.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Perfect. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, like what Krista said, there is a good point in that, yeah, a lot of people come into this thinking, well, I'll hold a run and we'll raise money for our cause. You know, if I hold a run and I tell people I'm having a run, they will come. They don't. You have to work hard to get participants. You have to offer something unique, or it has to resonate with people somehow. And so we've had causes that have come on with Run for Your Cause thinking, oh, we'll get people. And they find out that it's not as easy as they thought it was. And that's why Run for Your Cause is so good, because it offers this virtually no risk way of finding out how to do things and what's hard and what you have to work on and that sort of thing. And as Krista said, if you work hard on bringing in people for Run for Your Cause, you're going to be a whole lot more successful going out on your own with your own run, because you'll already have that group of people, that core, as Krista put it.
The one thing that I find with Run for Your Cause, and why I'm a big advocate and supporter of it, is because it allows the causes to work on the things that are really near and dear to them, which is that connection and that outreach with the people that you want to, approach to help honor your dad, right? And so that allows you to do what you're good at and what is meaningful to you. And it allows MRA to do what we're good at, which is the logistics of getting all of this stuff together and making sure that it works and whatnot. So it's a really good partnership. And then, as Kathy has highlighted, it can then be a gateway to something bigger if you outgrow the piece. The one thing about it is a shared event, though, and so that you have to decide, is that the right sweet spot for you.
Mm-hmm. Jessica, you had your hand up earlier. Did you have a comment?
It wasn't about Run for Your Cause or
okay.
So like
that's okay. I think we've stopped talking about Run for Your Cause now. I think we've gone through it all. Yeah.
It was just more about the notion of and we can talk about this offline, but you had mentioned, and I probably missed this earlier, there could only be so many classic events in a weekend. So do you just suggest submitting for the classic series and just waiting for the race committee to sort it out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why we want those sanctioning agreements in
Of
early.
course. Yeah.
So that the race series committee can then sit down and look at it, see what works the best for the participants.
Right.
We normally don't have more than one classic race series race or event on a weekend. It's usually, we try to keep it to one unless there's two races that are happening in very different parts of the province.
Right.
Then we can have, you know, them both on the same day or the same weekend. But yeah, and to clarify how those races are chosen, the race series committee is a group of 4 people, and they just make recommendations to the board. And then the board looks at the recommendations, looks at the calendar, and they vote on whether or not to accept those recommendations, or there may be a discussion.
And for the benefit of everyone else on this call, I'm on the board and I should know that.
Oh.
Okay, I'll recuse myself from the decisions about Run Sage Creek.
Vern.
Yeah, just in response to the person, I don't see her on the screen anymore, who asked the question first time, race director and so on. If you're a charity and you are looking to start an event, a run or a walk, I would suggest you start with a walk. You'll get dedicated people out, family members, supporters. It's less challenging. You get a small circuit, maybe Kildonan Park or something like that, and you test the waters in terms of how much money you can fundraise or how you can fundraise. And there are various charity groups, like Cancer Society, for example, has all sorts of people who will work with people to set up a walk, and it's a lot easier. If you set up a run, you're going to get some of your family base who are interested in running, but you're also going to scare some of them away because they're not runners, and maybe they'll walk or maybe they won't, whereas the other becomes more of a community. So in my experience doing this for a while, we started out as a walk. We started to expand more to a run, and now we're involved with a run, but we also were new last year at Lockport River's Edge Run for HD, but it's a run walk for HD, and we also hold our National Huntington Walk, Manitoba, on the same day. So last year we had over 100 people come just for the walk. And out of those 100, yeah, it's Jillian. I'm sorry, I forgot your name before. Out of those 100, we had about 30 or 40 of them who fundraised. And that's how we made money. And we had sponsors, and that's how we made money. The MRA run series and the people who come to run go to so many events that it's unlikely, in our experience, that any of them really picks up the cause and raises money for you. You're providing a service to them, and you do make some money off of them because you're providing that and you're providing the venue and so on. But if you were the marathoner for something like that with hundreds and hundreds of runners, and you'd make money just off volume, I think. But then you'd also get enough people picking up the cause and raising money, and some people have an entry fee in terms of how much money you have to raise. But if you're starting out to raise money for a charity, a walk is much better. And you can see that's why Assiniboine Park right now is absolutely jammed with big organizations doing walks.
Yep.
And they flood it. Like they actually kind of chased us out in a way because we were too small, and we just got we thought we were on a safe weekend, and oh, look at that, Challenge for Life is running. They moved. Well, when an event like that runs, your people can't even find a parking spot. So I would suggest starting with a walk, and you'll get all the ducks in a row, and you'll get your volunteers straight. And then if you want to have a walk run or a run walk, then I would go to that. Or the Run for Your Cause sounds really good. If your family members that you're dealing with actually want to come out for that.
Thank you, Vern. I appreciate you sharing your perspective. That's great.
Okay.
Yeah, a
Thank you.
couple things that I kind of took from that. One of the things, the semantics of the name of your event. Like, I don't like to call the events on our calendar races because many of them are not races. Some of them are run walks, as Vern said. Some of them are fun runs and aren't timed or anything like that. And sometimes the way that you refer to your event is really important because people will infer things from the name. If you call yourself a race, then people who are walkers are going to go, well, that's not for me. So yeah, calling yourself a walk or a run walk or a fun run, if that's who you're trying to attract. And like I said, I refer to all the events on our calendar, I refer to as events because there's so many different things on our calendar for different people. The other thing I wanted to mention that Vern touched on is, the fundraising thing, is that one of the things also that Run for Your Cause does that tries to make it a little more doable for people that may not be able to afford the entry fee. Because the entry fee is $50 for a 5K, which is relatively high. But 25 of it, the entry fee is actually only $25. The other 25 is going to the cause that you choose. But we also have the option that people can register as a fundraiser. And the stipulation there is if they raise $100, their entry fee is free. And from the cause itself, we tell them, okay, well, you, the cause now, for each fundraiser that raises $100 for you, you give us 25 and you keep the other 75, or however much that fundraiser raises. We just take the 25, which would be the entry fee, and the rest goes to you. And from the participants' point of view, they just have to go out and raise a little bit of money, not even a lot, $100, and they don't pay an entry fee. So Run for Your Cause is also very accessible that way. So Vern, thank you for your comments. Very much appreciated. Vern's been around for a long time as a race director. He's got a lot of experience. Well, unless anybody has any other questions, I think what we should do is bring our meeting to a close. We pretty well stayed on time, which is pretty impressive because we've covered a lot of ground. Thank you so much to all of you for taking part in this. The meeting has been recorded and will be up on the race directors page on the website. I'm also going to send the link out to all the race directors as well, because as you can imagine, there were many of them that aren't here today. We have about, I believe it's about 15, 16 events that are represented here. And as I said earlier, we have 48 on our calendar. So, well, 7 of them were ours. But as you can see, like there's a lot of race directors out of there. There's a lot of events out there. If you have any questions at all, if you want anything clarified, If you just have a question about something to do with your event or with putting on your event or with sanctioning your event, please contact me at the MRA office at mraweb.ca, or you can phone me. And I'd be happy to walk you through whatever it is that we can do for you. So thank you very much. And I think we'll draw that to a close.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.